Hi, my name is Sophia Moran, and I'm going to be making my digital short using claims to back up my thesis that the effects Pennsylvania environmental actions on water quality and flood risk in the state of Pennsylvania are proved to be an issue through the research and data that NOAA and DEP produce. So, to start off with my first claim, the rituals that the NOAA practices include the continuous encouragement to discover, report on, and analyze data related to our world's environment. And this ritual is supported by the NOAA's collaboration with several other research organizations deployed by the government, such as the National Centers for Environmental Information, Climate Production Center, Coastal Zone Management, and several more. The NOAA mentions the way they encourage citizens to volunteer their time and put sensors on their cars to help collect data related to climate change, where their employees can turn this data into mapping to help analyze and correlate this climate change into things such as water quality. This ritual is a necessary habit to support the NOAA's ideology of improving life with the sciences. This is because, with the increase of data analysis and the encouragement of it within the NOAA's culture, there is an increased chance that new discoveries to help our environment can be made. That NOAA creates an environment where people feel like they're making a difference when they contribute to this ritual of collecting data to aid in the improvement of our environment. So, for my second claim, the habitat of the NOAA spans across all bodies of water in the country, but specific to Pennsylvania, they focus on the coastlines of Lake Erie, the Delaware Estuary, and several other bodies of water within Pennsylvania. This habitat of Great Lakes and estuaries is so prevalent that 25% of the NOAA's research stations are in or nearby the Great Lakes to aid in their research of them. Their focus is on areas where high tide flooding is at risk, which is where they become a stakeholder in Pennsylvania's water quality and flood risk crisis. They must locate themselves and study habitats near Pennsylvania's coastline, such as Lake Erie, so that the analysis of these issues can be carefully carried out. Through the step of these habitats, once again, the NOAA is building off their baseline ideology as they put themselves in the best positions to continue to strive towards the improvement of the environment. With these habitats, the ritual of consistent data collection can be upheld with ease. Since the NOAA specializes in oceanic environmental impacts, their habitat must be closely focused on large bodies of water within the United States. For my third claim, the NOAA views the issue of environmental factors causing water quality and flood risk issues from the past as a cause for concern, but now as an alarming, pressing issue that must be addressed. The NOAA has several research analyses on the data they present, including a write up they had about projections along the Pennsylvania coastline in which they incorporate several graphs. The source references past data and describes the initial changes in the past as being associated with increased tidal range and storm magnitude that have caused the degradation of water quality along with an increase in tidal flooding, but with a more cyclical view of the cause, meaning they viewed it as a trend that changes naturally. Currently, however, the site shows projections of PA's coasts, such as Lake Erie and the Delaware Estuary, and shows a spike in water quality degradation and flood risk and attributes it to local spikes in emissions, and consequently, the rise in global temperatures. For my next claim, the NOAA's perspective of this issue is important for the rest of Pennsylvania, as it shows how dangerous it is for Pennsylvania continuing to output these emissions when there's almost an exact correlation between emissions and water quality and flood risk impacts. The Climate Explorer tool explicitly shows past and future data of flood risk and water quality being plotted against number of emissions. It shows the historic emission rate before 2000 as being on average a value of 62. While it begins to rise in the year 2000, and consequently so does average temperature and flood risk, with emissions up to 65 currently and 67.5 in the next 30 years. Almost all of the graphs are being plotted against emissions, showing an explicit reason as to why these issues are occurring. In their Tides and Currents report, they also reference this continuously as a cause for concern, looking less at the sequence of effects that come between emissions and water quality degradation, but at a higher level, pointing out the simplicity of this causational relationship. So, for my next claim for the DEP, the rituals that the DEP utilize include collecting and sharing data, encouraging the education of endangered species and environments, and continuously reviewing and upholding environmental regulations. In the DEP's testimony, they mentioned the need for more expansive models with data that is frequently updated for the integrity of information to be upheld to aid in analysis. Also, when it comes to continuously reviewing environmental regulations, the DEP in 2022 alone has conducted 71,000 inspections and responded to more than 27,000 permit applications. Their reports include hundreds of different data models from data being collected on a frequent basis for their analysis, motivating the ritual of doing so and aiding in the betterment of the Pennsylvania environment. This shows how important the ritual of constantly checking up on regulations is to the DEP, and how diligent they have become in doing so. The main difference between the NOAA and DEP's ritual is the DEP's focus on environmental regulations, and this backs up the part of their ideology that mentions upholding the law and allows these two subcultures to operate alongside each other. These rituals support the DEP's ideologies and promote more sustainable environmental practices in Pennsylvania. For my next claim, the DEP focuses on all habitats throughout the country of the Pennsylvania. However, they often focus on the well-being of water quality and flood risk, as they view it as an important environmental factor to monitor. In the DEP's testimony, they often mention wells as a point of interest. This is just one aspect of the way they monitor Pennsylvania water quality, but since these wells play such an important role of providing clean, consumable water, they make sure to place importance on the quality of it. Along with that, they mention how when the wells are polluted, they end up leaking pollution into groundwater, which then leaks methane into the air. Their climate action plan also frequently mentions the Delaware Estuary along with Lake Erie as points of interest, as the upkeep of these two bodies of water is extremely important to the rest of PA's environmental stability. The habitats in which the DEP operates help uplift their ideology by also allowing the ritual of data collection and code checking to be done so more easily. Overall, these points of interest are what the DEP focuses on to ensure Pennsylvania minimizes its environmental impacts on water quality and flood risk. My next claim is the DEP outlines the year of 2000 as the origin of the issue of water quality and flood risk in Pennsylvania and emphasizes it as a turning point in impacts. Almost all the graphs that they provide start with the year 2000, where a peak in temperature change, flood risk, and water quality degradation starts to become out of the ordinary. They also include a graph showing Pennsylvania precipitation increases and begins a trend line at 2000, showing the vast increase that is observed starting from there. They show increases in factors such as increasing temperatures, heat waves, landslides, etc., concentrated around the time of 2000 to show how these factors increase the flood risk and decrease water quality in Pennsylvania. My next claim is the DEP's view of this issue is important to the rest of Pennsylvania as it outlines specific causes of the issue along with the ways in which the issues can be reduced. The Pennsylvania Impacts Assessment explains these issues with the current causes as the past effects, meaning in the past the issues were increasing average temperatures, and now the issues are water quality and flood risk. They recognize pollution and emissions as a cause in the past, but currently they look more into the complexity of causes occurring. They are looking at the effects of the effects. They present a matrix with what they believe are currently the biggest factors affecting water quality and flood risk, which are heavy precipitation, heat waves, landslides, sea level rise, and several tropic cyclones. These are being carefully followed today and are linked to an increase in emissions and average temperature as overarching causes. The change in outlook can be attributed to the more abundant of information and data available, along with an understanding of how multifactorial the effects of Pennsylvania impacts are. So finally, my last claim is that viewers should take the information that the NOAA and DEP have presented and consider it when making voting decisions. So the NOAA and DEP are continuing to make intensive reports and representative data figures to keep the public informed on this topic, and with their research, society can see how urgent this issue is becoming, and hopefully try to contribute to a change. In reading this, readers should see how comparing data from two different government organizations should further enhance understanding of the issue and provide perspective, especially when most, if not all, of the data aligns with each other between these two organizations. So we as a society need to get behind an effort to reduce these changes. From here, there will be unanswered questions to be explored, specifically regarding the exact causational relationship between Pennsylvania's actions and their effects on flood risk and water quality. So either use this information to vote for someone you believe will help stop these impacts, or try yourself to be more mindful of how you impact the environment. And here are my sources. Thank you.